Today we'll be discussing a whole long range of issues that have been raging both at the national and some states level. Issue of in value-added taxes, stamp duties, all riding around the tax issue in Nigeria. A lot of people have come up with different perspectives. Some people have said that the question now lies in who should take the tax or the sharing formula. But a whole lot of things will be discussed. A whole lot of things will be discussed today. I have with me Comrade Olarenwaju Ishowo, Comrade Hamzat AbdulRazaq, and I have Mr. AbdulFatai Olajide, who is a financial expert. So let's start with Mr. AbdulFatai. As a financial expert, I hope you give us a background to what value-added tax really means.
Good afternoon. I am AbdulFatai Olajide. Before we go to the issue of VAT, you will agree with me that Nigerian tax system is in bad shape. And from the look of things, it may even get worse if all the underlying issues are not properly identified and situated. And the issue of this VAT is something that we need to handle with care. You know, the economy is just coming out of recession. If care is not taken, it can plunge us back to economic depression. If you look VAT, when you compare VAT to other taxes, it's relatively new. It's not an old tax. If you compare VAT with PPT, CIT, or stamp duty that has been existing before the VAT. You know, in Nigeria, the VAT was introduced in 1993, and the implementation began in 1994. You know, it came to replace the sales tax of 1986, the Decree 7 of 1986, because the sales tax did not give credit to input mechanism. What this VAT actually means is the tax imposed on goods and services at every production, supply, process, and value chain. Is the tax imposed on the value added to particular product or services rendered. If you go back to history of VAT, you will discover that it got introduced in 18th century ago by one German economist, and the implementation was around 1954 in France. But in Nigeria, it was introduced in 1993, and implementation began in 1994. If you look at the way the VAT has been growing, in fact, it has become the fastest tax revenue head in Nigeria. Because if you look at the VAT last year, 2020, the VAT tax generated from VAT was 1.53 trillion, PPT 1.52, CIT 1.41, like that. So the VAT itself is something that we need to look at it very well, because the way everybody is looking at VAT, that income tax revenue is on VAT is too high. That is why everybody is looking at it. But the major problem of VAT, you know where the problem started, is because you know that the VAT Act predates 1999 Constitution. Exactly. But unfortunately, our Constitution did not mention VAT expressly. That is why in some quarters, some people just capitalize on Section 4, Subsection 7 of the Constitution, and consider that VAT is among the residual item. And if you look at that Section 4, Subsection 7, what is it that all the residual items fall in the this thing of for the state to legislate on. It fall under the remit of state. Yes, it fall under the remit. Let me use remit as an accountant. You understand? It fall under the remit of the state to legislate on. That is why they capitalize on it. Now, going to the issue of, hope I'm not going beyond the question.
No, where you go. Like, seriously, I'm getting to know a lot.
Okay. So, going to the issue of who is to administer or collecting the VAT, Abi?
Yes.
If we look at that, I think that has not been expressly stated in the Constitution. You understand? So, and there are 4 angles to look at this VAT. You can look at it from accounting angle, you can look at it from economic angle, you can look at it from law, and you can look at it from political angle. You understand? But the most important thing is that I have been listening to some people's statements, just like even His Excellency, Governor of Rivers State, Governor Isiaq. Yes, you know, he was the first person that raised it that states should be the one collecting and administering the VAT. I think there about December 2020 or so. And he cites some examples like some states. I think he used Kano as example that has already banned the sales of beer, any alcoholic product. When I look at that statement, maybe some findings or some consultations were not properly made before that submission, because the data is there, the analysis is there. Look at what Nigeria generated from VAT last year, 1.53 trillion. Do you know more than 50%, about 50.6% or so were from import VAT, international services VAT, and something. Only 49.5 or 49.7% were from local factors.
Exactly my point. Exactly. Let me come in here, sir. Now, some people are of the opinion, some tax experts have said that the federal government is even playing the big brother here. That when we talk about VAT, we only talk about the locally consumed taxes, and if we talk about the locally consumed products, we have food items that are exempted, and but some tax experts have said that when something is exempted, there will be some hidden element of taxes. But if something is zero taxed, there will be zero tax. But that's another keg of worms that I don't think we will have time to go to. But what I'm saying is that if the sharing formula is that every VAT that comes,
according to the VAT Act, that's Section 40. The sharing formula is 15-50-35.
15-50-35.
The federal government and the 2 other lower tier of government.
Yes.
The 85 goes directly to state and local government.
Yes.
And if you look at the sharing formula of that 85%, is 50 on the equity, 30% of population.
On population
and less than 20% based on derivation principle.
Thank you very much.
You understand? Now, let me now go to that derivation principle. That is where I'm saying maybe the Rivers State government or Lagos State government, they didn't make. Let me assume that they didn't make enough adequate or accurate consultations before signing something to be. Alright, you understand? Because the derivation principle we are saying, 50% has been shared based on equity.
Equity, yes.
The derivative principle they used. I think the percentage from that 85%, let us take it as the 100% now. The percentage that went to Lagos State last year is 50.5%. FCT came second, 13.29. Oyo was the third, 2.9.
Let me come here. When you talk about VAT, a lot of us seems to forget the FCT. FCT generated something like 202 billion last year.
Yes, that is 13.29 I'm saying. I'm referring to. FCT came second after the federal government. So Lagos 50.5, FCT 13.29, Oyo came third with 2.9, followed by Rivers State 2.7 and Kano 1.4%. Now where I'm going to now is that from what inflate or what increase the Lagos the VAT tax revenue generated from Lagos. One important thing that inflates it is because something headquarters effects.
Yes.
You understand? That's why I'm saying maybe there were no proper consultations or something before such a thing. Because the Lagos state government even go far to say, okay, I'm reducing it to 6%.
6%.
You understand? Let me say, maybe I'm still repeating it. Consultations were not adequate. Consultations were not adequate on that. Because if you are reducing it to 6%, what of the fat input from the businesses that will get material from other states? How are you going to bear the 1.5%? Most of the facilities that is generating VAT for you, you understand, they are federal government facilities. The headquarters effect we are talking about, like the telecoms financial institutions, Access Bank in Ilorin, GTB in Ilorin, the one in Osogbo, the one in Ofa. Do they pay VAT in Ilorin?
They don't pay. They
pay in Lagos.
Through the headquarters.
Through the headquarters. So by the time their agitation is being, by the time they succeeded in that, maybe let's say when the state VAT regime now come to stay, do you think the headquarters effect will be there? It will not be there. It will reduce the VAT of
Lagos to what we used to have. Let me come back to you, sir. I think from what we have a very, very robust background. Let me come to Mr. Mr. Abdulrazaq. Please, this thing was started by Lagos State when Governor Bola Tinubu was the governor. The process of true federalism, fiscal federalism, but it was dropped running into somewhere around 2010. I can remember the vice president of today was the Attorney General of that day. And he has not said anything. He's still a senior advocate of Nigeria. I think we should have heard something from him. But what I'm saying is that let's talk about national interest, this VAT of the thing, and political interest. So where is the interest of the masses in all these things?
Oh, well, thank you so much. You know, for me, I do not even think we should expend so much time and discussing all of this matter. Because for me, what matters most is applying resource to cater for people's need and welfare. Whether the federal government is collecting VAT, whether it's state. In fact, if local government should be collecting it, the importance, the essence of it is to say that this resource is being used for the purpose of the people. Now, when that is put into consideration, we should now, you talk from the angle of true federalism. Now, you know, for a long time, a lot of people have always been complaining about the Nigerian constitution, talking about the need for restructuring, talking about the need to amend the constitution. And one fact that I've always laid emphasis on is that, yeah, there are a couple of issues with the constitution, some aspect of it. But majority of what we are complaining about in the constitution are non-existent. The constitution had already taken care of it, but we have not explored the constitution to the latter. And if the provision is already there and we did not exploit the way it ought to be, then even if it is amended, if we still refuse to exploit, we will still not have the desired effect. So for me, this is purely a legal matter as far as we are concerned right now.
Yes.
Because based on the Constitution is silent about it. And the state government that feels that they have more to gain from legislating over it have done so. And the FIRS have gone to court. And the state seems to have upper hand so far. So for me, it is just about the true federalism playing out. Because now, not just on this matter, there are many more issues that states
we have on stamp duty too. The states are now coming together.
Yes, so they want to expand and test the law on the applicability of this law. And some of these things, if state is able to prove their case and the judicial system give them, I see nothing wrong with it, whether it is applied by the state or by the federal government. But what is key? What is key is that I do not see federal government losing anything in this whole thing at the end of the day. Federal government, as a matter of fact, federal government might even be the winner if states have their way.
Exactly. Let me give you how federal government can be the winner from what Mr. AbdulFatai has painted. 51% of the VAT in this country comes from import duty, international services duty. 51%. And when we talk about state to state, only Lagos State makes more money than than Abuja. So if if a government takes its own 51% and leave the states with their own 49%.
Abuja, what Abuja is generating does not belong to the federal government. It belongs to the FCT.
Oh, no, my take is that even when we talk about the money, we talk about the money as a whole.
Yes.
And then when we talk about 1.53 trillion, 51% should take somewhere around 760 billion.
Yes.
And then FCT on its own will take 202 billion out of the money.
That's what we're saying. States that feels that they will gain more from it are the ones pushing for it. Some other states are already against it because they feel like it will not pay them. But for me, what is important is, irrespective of who collects this money, our priority should be on the application of these resources and reallocation of these resources to cater for the need of the people. I do not think we should, belabor ourselves too much because it's purely a legal matter and the legality will be resolved. That where we should concern is meant for the state as we are right now. If states take over these resources, what will these states now have access to, and how can we improve our economic and production capacity, value addition, that will ensure that the state will continue to get more? And don't forget, as soon as this thing goes to the state, some states can even choose not to collect VAT at all, for them to encourage.
Some people are saying, some of them do not.
No, even if they choose with the federal to use their existing to collect it, so the federal inland revenue will just probably collect some, service fee for giving them their structures, and so all of these are, I think this is good with you. It will allow creativity to come to play. It will allow people to think. It will allow, services to be rendered. So I think and some states might choose that we are no longer collecting. Some businesses feel that, okay, this state is not collecting VAT. That reduces production. That reduces. So they will want to even come to that state, and that state will continue to have more access to economic activity. So I think we should look at it more from how it impacts the people than from just who and who does not collect it. I think that's my perspective.
Let's talk about the people now. From what I asked Mr. AbdulRazaq now, how it impacts the people. We've seen a lot of things. Let me start with the FIRS. The case is in court. We saw a leaked memo which the FIRS has come out to actually deny that there was never a memo for the National Assembly to move the VAT to the exclusive list and all that, and then some people have said that this thing can happen, but that's one on one side. But how about the states? From what Mr. AbdulRazaq said, he said it should be, in my opinion, it should be something good for every state to move at their own basis. Maybe that would be something, but some states are there saying the federal government. We have a state like Kogi, we have a state like Ebonyi, a state like Katsina, from across the country saying that the government should collect the VAT and distribute it the way. So that cut across the whole divide of the country. And then we have some states that say they are waiting. Even a state like Kaduna said, we are waiting on the outcome of the court. Whatever the court decides, we're going with the court. So we have a state like Kwara saying that we are already drafting our own bill. The moment we are done with the case is done in court, we also move into the issue. So whose interest is at stake here?
Good afternoon, the viewers. I want to subscribe to what Hamzat said, simply because we can't continue pushing Nigeria present system of government like this without having an update about the happenings around the state and the country at large. I'm very, very happy at this point in time for this conversation, simply because quite long ago there have been reject reactions over updating the system, brand it as restructuring. And we see it from the center that they remain unhelped. There are some governors believe that the extant law needs to be reviewed in line with the happenings across the world. What I'm very, very happy about the situation is the legal aspect of it. Just like Hamzat submitted, that to what extent have we, examined even the extant law? The loopholes on ground is the advantage some governors want to take. And when you look at it, let me say few governors, because we have seen River State government, Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Ogun, maybe and one other. Some kept silent at this moment. Some have expressed their dismay over it, just like you mentioned, Gombe and Kogi State. It shows that from their respective comments, we know who's going to gain. I won't go to this at the end of the day. But I want to pray that the case is be a win-win at the end of the day. A win-win in the sense that if the FRS remain the ground agency that is collecting the fact because of the data available, it will be very hard for some state to start, because nothing on ground in some state that can help them to collect the little fact available for them. But if the agency like FRS remain and each state negotiate based on the data available, okay, we are going to give you 4%, just like the status quo. At the same time, we are going to give you 3%, we are going to give 5%. It depends on that. It will be very easier for some governors to rise to the occasion, because people see electing them into a mere title flaunting. I am the governor of this state. I am the president of this country. Forgetting what requires to be the president or to be the governor. But the conversation on ground now has pushed them. Some begging, some say no, we should go about it. But in essence,
Comrade, let me come in. Some people have said that we do much talking after our election, that we should do more talking before the election than after the election. And then let me give you a state like Niger State. Niger State gets over 80% of their revenue from park. Nothing on ground. Talk about the arable land. Even before, let's not talk about the banditry that they have now. They over 80%. They generate somewhere around 10% of their revenue. And some people were like, Niger State has been in existence for a while. What has the governors been doing? At least Niger State till now have had a lot of governors. So don't you think this is the time for our governors to take up their thinking caps, and okay, even if it will be a kind of rumbling, like okay, if you pay at the headquarters level, you must pay in our states too. But some people have said that some governors, just as you said, some doesn't want to be governors for the sake of being governors. They don't have the the knowledge, the capacity, the capability, the edge to be the governor, to help the state move from this is where I met the state financially, and this is where I left the state. Don't you think it should be an advantage for the people that the governors will know that when I'm going to the state house, I'm going to work?
The ultimate test of end of freedom does not determine when it is, comfort and convenience. Challenges often push the leader to determine their opportunities. What am I saying is, look at the case study of Lagos. We are able to run to Lagos State government to put it the best state that is generating IGR ahead of any other states. It wasn't started like this. The crisis between the federal government and Lagos State government during Obasanjo era actually pushed the Lagos government to think outside the box when they created additional local government unconstitutionally, because no state should create constitution without giving the approval right from the National Assembly. But they went ahead to do that. Some states like KWARA State joined them, Nasarawa and one other. When the new administration came in, that's the second time to Obasanjo, some states that are not capable to do that. They dissolved, the Nasarawa dissolved, KWARA dissolved, some say because of political undertone. But Lagos refused at that point in time. For the fact that Lagos refused to dissolve the local government, you call it SCD, or they call it, Obasanjo compelled and refused, and they charged to the court because Obasanjo refused even to release the original revenue meant for the local government.
For the local government, the whole local
What
government,
is expected? What is expected that
government.
the newly created should be handled by the state. Once you say that you are capable, go ahead and finance it yourself. That's the position of law. But Obasanjo refused, maybe because of stumbling exclusive of the governor Asiwaju at that time. He refused even to remit the constitutional money belonging to local government in Lagos State. And he went to court. When they got to the court said that they are capable to create any forms of local government they want to do that. In as much that they are going to finance it, one, and it's not going to be reflected when they are saying the numbers of local government you are having. That is why till today, Osun has created additional, Oyo has created additional, Lagos, but by law, we have 774 local governments. What I want to draw from this is that it was the challenge that Bola Tinubu met on ground that made him to go back to drawing board. How are you going to expand the scope of revenue generation in Lagos State? That is it today. What I want to draw from this is that the current conversation will charge on governors to rise to the occasion. They need to think of how are they going to tap from the available resources. They should not continue on this filibuster federal government, where even the current status quo confirmed that our own federal system of government is, uncommon, when the federal government is taking 52% of
the whole allocation.
That
means the whole revenue
why
of
is it
the
happening like that? But you now see that the states are agitating. I think 2 weeks ago, under the umbrella of Governor Furo, the governor of Ekiti State suggested that the state should be having 47% of the FAC, not the current 26 they are collecting. They left the local government aside. But this, as we are talking about, some governors are going to see this as a challenge, to think that how are you going to generate it? Well, thank God that KWARA, we are fairly okay. Not to study that we have not got to the expected point. But you should remember that the revenue ladder, FAC, KWARA is oscillating between 33 to 31. But when it comes to IGR, at the time, 5th, 6th, 7th, today, in 2020, report available, we are in number 10. It shows that in IGR, we are one of the best 10. But when it comes to FAC,
we're not doing well.
We're not doing well with that. So how many governors? You made mention of Niger State. What can you say about Kano State? Kano State, despite its own population, he has not taken the advantage of the population to increase its own IGR. Maybe because the fact is to some extent meaningful. Because apart from the 30% states, Lagos and Kano follow suit. Kaduna in population, in terms of commerce, Kano is leading, but when it comes to IGR, Kaduna is leading.
But maybe I'll break a news for you that the House of Assembly in Kano State has invited the head of the IGR, internally generated revenue in the state, to come and explain something. They said that it does not reflect what they have on ground. But the money they are making does not reflect what they have on ground.
They are bothered by the data available.
Yes.
Okay, maybe they are not satisfied with the position.
Exactly. So I think as some people will say that, Mr. Fada, some people will say that challenges, necessity is the mother of inventions. And if I'm to put it like this, some people are saying that, okay, even the River State that led the way, when we talk about the governor of Rivers State talk about alcoholic products. I will talk about alcoholic products. From the top 10 states, I think the highest states that sold more alcoholic products is Lagos State, Akwa Ibom State, Anambra State. In that order, Anambra State, Edo State, Cross River State. Edo State is on the number 9. River State that is making this statement is even on the number 9. And some people have said that, okay, even if can't we make that there's no true federalism everywhere. We should just create what is peculiar to our own situation. Like if somebody is crying about alcohol, why don't we separate alcoholic VAT and give it to states that drink alcohol? Why don't we separate other flats, give it to states that do that? So maybe other states we have. Is that a way? What I'm trying to say, is there a way to separate? To separate the VATs based on products?
That will cause serious complications because when we talk of tax rates, be it flat rate or something, there should be uniformity. if you are talking of separating products based on fat or separating this, it's going to cause serious complications.
Sir, I think, let me make myself clear. What is happening here is we have a problem on the sharing formula, not on the remittance formula. Now, the thing is, what I'm saying is, why don't we pay the alcoholic VAT to the state that agree with alcohol, and pay on maybe on the clothings, on electronics, and pay it differently? Because from what we have, FRS actually mentioned everything one after the other. That on alcohol, this is what we make. On petroleum products, this is what we make.
You know one of the problems that is going to lead to? You know there are some accepted items from VAT, like basic foodstuff or something. The northern people will also agitate that some of the food items should not be accepted. If one state should agree with it, and wait, that is a strength. The northern people will also agitate, okay, don't exempt food item. You understand? That's so paying separating alcoholic something separate is cause problem.
But thinking about the peculiar Nigerian situation, when this same northern part of the country says that don't drink alcohol in our states, but they want to take the money, they were there. We all eat foods. This food we are talking about, they eat food in the north, they eat food in the south too. But how can we drink alcohol in the south and they will not drink, we will not drink alcohol in the north? I can remember I'm from the north too. I will not drink we will not drink alcohol in the north and still want to make money. I think Zamfara State, somebody said, from the data available, Zamfara State made somewhere around 133 million naira on alcohol. And if you can remember, Zamfara State was the first state to start this Sharia of a thing. So, and coupled with the banditry and everything, the economy is not going really well. And Zamfara State make more than 100 million naira on alcohol that they are not consuming. So this is baffling. A lot of people are saying that it is not even helping the state from the feeding bottle economy. That when are we going to start go to the whole world? We have provinces that are financially stable. Go to the United States. You have states that are financially stable. Go to California, United Kingdom, New York and all that. But when you go to Arkansas and some other states, go to Austin, do you know that they are struggling, and the federal government is trying to subsidize them too, so that they will not crawl, they can walk even if they cannot run. But we have some states that are running there too. So can't we just create a sort of federalism and let the states move at their own speed, at their own pace?
You know the problem, there is one major implication of that. You understand? That means the people will not be put at first. You need to put people first. Of all 36 states, if you are saying every state should be separated and should be generating their VAT separately, that means you are trying to empower just like 4 states. What will happen to at least other 32 states and the whole 774 local governments, 774 local governments? You understand?
Alright.
So the at least 32 states and the 774 local governments, they are going to be working.
So as a financial expert, are you saying that these other 32 states or 707 whatever local governments cannot do anything on themselves?
They can do it.
Some people are saying the argument from some quarters is that these governors are being lazy.
Let me comment.
No, they can do it. They can do it. But there are some things that are put into consideration. The issue of headquarters effect will be removed.
Alright? Nobody cares. Lagos State will know that.
Even to me, looking at the Section 40 of the VAT Act, the sharing formula of the 50-30-20. Me, I don't really support the 30% for population.
For population.
What sense of being populated and you can't generate revenue?
No, so they said like Jigawa State. They said like Jigawa State takes more than the state. I think most of the southern states, and they were like,
see, if my true position would be that don't let for now, how many states have the right mechanism to be collecting this VAT for the VAT acquisition and collection? Do you understand? How many states have?
But Mr. Hamzat has said that we can just employ FRS as a consultant
for time being.
But you know that for now, this VAT issue we are talking about, there cannot be permanent solution.
There's no permanent solution to any problem.
Review.
Any problem.
You understand?
There is already permanent solution on this matter.
All right.
And the permanent solution as we are is the judgment of the court of law that has said that this is the position states should collect. Now, even
But
if
what
they
we
are
have currently is that they should go back to status quo.
and that's the status quo. No, the status quo is just to hold the judgment.
To hold the
they are
judgment,
going to appeal.
yes,
So
yes.
when they go to appeal, if the court of appeal upholds the same judgment, that so for you see, we shouldn't just be wasting our time talking. As soon as the state is collecting it, there is nothing like headquarter effect. Any business in the state will pay VAT to the state.
I think
So all of that will, stop
Okay.
the on
Mr. Abdulqadir, let me go to Mr. Abdulqadir. Let me come, Mr. Abdulqadir. I want to say something to that. Somebody, Lagos State said, come and pay 6% in my state.
Yes.
River State said, we are maintaining 7.5%.
That is what I was saying, that if you leave the state to be administering and collecting VAT, that will be a problem.
No,
because there will be
a problem.
No,
Some states can even say don't
pay tax in my own
because
state.
we want to
That creates a kind of,
yeah, so that's not a problem.
competition in the state among the states.
That's what they call true federalism that we have been asking for.
Let me say, okay,
but you know uniformity will not be there again.
No,
There's no
we
uniformity.
for uniformity.
There's no need for uniformity if we are seeing results.
Since the state is already in
People determine the
control.
salary payment. Is there any uniformity? Some states, of course, minimum wage is 30,000, but the constitutional adjustment is not uniform, state by state. And go and look at it. Why Ogun State is closely after Lagos? It's because of the spillover effect.
The spillover effect from Lagos State to
No, even before that time,
something.
people are living in Ogun State, working in Lagos, live in Ogun State, and Lagos was taking their tax at the time. Not until the governor of Ogun State said, no,
No.
I have the right, because they are residing here, I have the right to take their own.
With the situation of this country,
Yes.
I don't think there is any state government that will say, okay, my VAT should be zero or do no tax. You understand?
No, we
can't say- we
it's just
can't
an
say.
assumption.
That's just
It's just an
assumption.
assumption. If
some
they
okay,
want to do that,
some
they
states can
have the
actually say
right.
that.
You
Some
know,
states
they
can
make-
say that, and this is an example.
Okay.
In KWARA State here, you will observe that on the telecom, there is this tax that is supposed to be collected when telecommunication
Yes.
industries are putting some.
Mm.
While
Massive.
KWARA State decided to be collecting one
I think 1%.
kobo.
One kobo, yes.
One kobo. And before KWARA State, in fact, there are, I'm aware of some consultants who were coming to KWARA, lobbying for the state government, for them to assist KWARA State government to collect money from the telecoms that they were supposed to pay. But the government felt like, we don't even need the money. We prefer to allow them to be operating so that they can expand the coverage of telecommunication. If the state did not collect raw cash from them in terms of revenue,
But in service,
the expansion that they are getting will create more economic activities.
Mr. Fatai, as a financial
benefit to the
expert,
state.
so are you
that's
saying that?
much more important.
Are you saying that doing zero VAT is very bad for every state? It's bad. Are you saying it's bad outrightly? That we can't have a state that will say that don't even come and pay in my own state, come and invest.
We can have, some states can do that, but I believe there will be competition among the states. I want to develop my state, you want to develop your state.
Exactly.
You understand?
So can we develop on our own pace? Like everybody bring their own idea, bring their own policy.
And another thing I'm looking at is that one of the implications of this is that there will be, do you think the business environment will not be more unconducive?
No, I don't think so.
For example,
this is what I think.
no,
This is
Mr.
what I think.
Razaq, please.
Okay.
Mr. Razaq, please.
Wait. You know when the state VAT regime come to stay, you understand? Like northern part of the country, core north, you understand where the food items are coming, and you know the food items are being exempted from VAT. Do you think at their own discretion, states cannot say, okay, my VAT in my state, food item will not be exempted, and the VAT on food will be 20%?
Can we legislate on that? Okay, we
Do
are
you think
outlawing.
it cannot happen?
Well, I think we can just legislate on that.
That is subject to legislation. And I don't
Exactly.
think that's the problem. Because look at it, for example, why do governments need money? Government need money to provide service for the people. Now, if government now feels that not collecting money helps us better to create job for the people, helps us better to empower economic activity. So why should we now insist on collecting money when not collecting it will actually work more to create
I understand what you are saying. The issue of this VAT, I said it from the initiation of my statement, that is a very crucial something, this issue of VAT. You understand? If it's not being handled very well, it can plunge the country back to economic depression. You understand? I think the best thing for now, if we want to get the VAT issue right, the status quo should remain, pending when the constitution will be reviewed, which is going to expressly clarify the administration and collection of VAT.
And put it on the expensive list.
No. I will talk about,
because even on this SI duty we are talking about, Lagos State is at loggerhead with federal government.
Yes, when we talk about the hoteliers in Lagos State, they're having problem with the federal government that, okay, you can take the VAT, but for the land we have to take the VAT.
Issues that
there are lots of issues. Okay, now let's talk about this the concurrent issue, this issue of stamp duty. There is a case in court that since 2015, states have not been getting stamp duty, proceeds of stamp duty. So are you saying that we can still continue trusting that federal government that has not been paying states almost since 2015 our own VAT?
The stamp duty stuff as well is also in court.
Yes, exactly.
Although patiently people are waiting on that.
Yes.
And waiting on the court judgment. You understand? Although I think federal government can allow states on that. You understand?
Sir, it's still the same sharing formula. This VAT and stamp duty is still the same sharing formula.
But though the stamp duty has come to stay for long before the VAT.
Well, it's still causing problem. They still have to go to court for this stamp duty of the thing. The fact that it has been around for a while doesn't mean hasn't given us.
Let's see what's going to be the outcome of the judgment.
Alright.
On that stamp duty. But this VAT is something. My position there will have been, let the status quo remain. You understand? But the federal government can come up with a new sharing formula. They can adopt something called EAYG, and as you generate. You understand? But there is a way they can do that systematically. For example, this is state A, state B, state C. You understand? What I generate, but if they want to do that, the issue of headquarters effect will be removed. You understand? And it's going to be only on domestic VAT collected by each state. Even the interstate services, I think federal government still need to handle that. They will not say, okay, N as it generates based on your local VAT, local VAT generated. There should be law that will say, okay, from what state from any state, what you generated as VAT, then you remit so percentage to the VAT group. That is another thing that can push each state.
So are you saying that the state will generate, and then there will be an agreement that it's not a big brother kind of thing, that the federal government will sit down and say, okay, you brought this, even if you generate, you would have known what you are going to get before the sharing is being done. Exactly. Okay, Mr. let me go to Mr. AbdulRazaq. Mr. AbdulRazaq, this part of it, I can see that you are trying to bring it to the side of the people, and a lot of people have said that this thing might stifle businesses. If you have to pay, if you produce goods in Kano State and it will be consumed in Lagos State, if the two states are asking you for VAT, that will be double taxation. That will be double taxation, which can stifle SMEs and small and medium enterprises. So
pay, and on the point of consumption, certain percent. No, the thing is, the law that is being worked on will clarify all of this, and we cannot just make pronouncements on them because they are legal issues. as we are calling, like in the haulage service, for example, when they are producing the product, they pay tax. When they are moving product to another place, before you drop the product there, you are paying. So that can also apply to the VAT, that any state that add some kind of value to it,
to the product,
will have certain portion of it considered when each state is making their law. So each state will factor in the additional value to the product, and when they are taking certain percentage for their own state, where is the called production or consumption, other states that might have added value will have their own portion. So this is strictly a legal issue that
okay, you talk about the legal issue.
Yeah.
You think you've suggested that we can go in line of legislation, and some people have said that the FRSA has snubbed a request to the National Assembly to move VAT, because I think
like me, I'm against the position of the FIRS. I want states to take responsibility.
No, what I'm saying,
because if they succeed in getting federal National Assembly to put it
on the exclusive list,
then that takes us back to where we were coming from. Because federal government has been operating in that capacity before now. Okay. So now that state feels that they want to work on this, we shouldn't deny them opportunity.
Okay. My point is this.
Yeah.
Do you think this same House of Assembly can be trusted on an issue of this magnitude? I'll give you an example. When we had this issue of this transmission issue, the e-transmission issue with a whole lot of Nigerians disagreed with that. Why will you say that you want to subject the National Assembly, the INEC, to a body under the federal government, directly under the executive arm of the government? So, and then we see how that, because we know that it has not been transmitted, and I think a lot of people have been from what I read this morning, is that NCC has been written by some CSOs, and FCC said that they are investigating the statement made by their own representative at the House of Representatives, that they do not agree, that they said it cannot be done. They do not, when on their website they have this, they said they have over 75% coverage. And when somebody, when their representative got to House of Assembly, he was saying the same, he was saying something else from that. So now, I'm just talking on the perspective of the people, that do you think we trust this same House of Assembly so much that some people are saying that they seem to do things the way they feel? Do you think they cannot move that thing on to the exclusive list?
Well, I do not think that it is about the issue of trust.
All right.
INEC is under the executive arm of government. NCC is under the executive arm of government. And NCC is statutory body in charge of data on telecommunication and everything like that. And if National Assembly, in its consideration of a policy or of a legislation, feels that we don't know much about this information, and they call on the statutory body that has the mandate of this capacity, and the people came to them, we all saw them, that made position to say this is the position. Now, we should not blame the National Assembly for subjecting that.
Okay, sir.
Now, what we can...
I just want to make a point. Some people will blame in the National Assembly on one sense, that the National Assembly promised to invite INEC and NCC, but when the day came, we saw only NCC and INEC was not there.
I know they eventually invited INEC, and INEC said they have capacity to do it, and NCC said they don't. Now, at the end of the day, National Assembly concluded that they are going to bring the two of them together, and the agreement they made would be the final conclusion as far as that is concerned. So that was why they put a clause in that act that said when INEC has a capacity, they can always activate it. So it's not as if they deny them outrightly.
No, I'm not saying they deny them. What I'm saying is
what I'm just saying is that, we don't have all of the information. When people who supposedly have more information are making decisions, It is easy for us that don't have the information to think they have done the wrong thing. But if we switch side and we become those in their position and we have access to the same information they have, probably we may actually do the same
We have
thing.
seen
So
this
what
same,
I want
we have
us,
seen this same House of Assembly voting on an issue of national importance on party lines.
no, it happens like now. But this issue that we're talking is not a party matter. It is a national matter, and people at the National Assembly, all of them concur to it. Most of them, if not all. And you know, the most important thing that we should look for me is, as far as this matter is concerned, the court of law, where the matter is, should be the decision. And that's why I subscribe to many states that say they are not taking any position. Whatever the court of law says, they do, and that's the line that the best
Mr. Ishowo, comrade Ishowo. Okay, let's let me use that, comrade. Comrade Ishowo, on this bad issue, let's agree that we go to the House of Assembly. Do you believe we can trust the House of Assembly on an issue of this magnitude?
The National Assembly on this conversation, primarily, I disagree taking that issue to the National Assembly, because the current National Assembly or the current presidential system of government Nigeria is practicing centers around the federal government. When you look at the structure of the documents, currently 68 items already in the exclusive list, only 12 on the concurrent, and we are still agitating that this one should be added to. So we are complicating the issue. I believe that the matter is before the court, but I want to see that it's going to be a win-win situation. Because if they go by the current atmosphere without approaching the court to settle the matter, it's going to be lose-lose. In the sense that current now, Lagos State believe that they are not bound by the appellate courts, simply because they are not a party to the issue in the first instance. So whatever be the judgment, either on Saturday or not, they are not part of it. So before you know, the coming allocation formula, you will discover that the fat will be reduced to what we shared this last month, simply because there are some companies that believe that, no, where to pay to? Is it to the state or to the FRS? At the end of the day, they'll be skeptical to avoid double payment. So in that line, we are going to see that the extent at which the money to be realized will be reduced. And a state like KWARA, we are one of the beneficiaries. Because when you look at the last, even the allocation we got, the fact there for the state were around 1.4. So that of local government were around 900 million. So if you put a stop to that, and how are you going to see that within a period of time, or what we have on ground is amount to that 1.4? But I would rather suggest that as we are going, FRS has the data standby. Let each state negotiate with them that from what you are having. I remember during the last administration, for the first reason that took me to the then chief of staff was the amount KWARA was collecting from the local government, simply because they are collecting that from them. That formula was on our side, and local government already killed, you know, and the amount KWARA was collecting on our side. So when we approached him, I think we are 4 in number at that time. I see some skirmishes, and they promise that they are going to reduce it, which means as KWARA is collecting money for the state and the local government is, you know, generally paying the consultants fee for the KWARA. So that is why today you see the argument of that local government is taking 10% from the spendable, what do you call it? From the spendable. Why? Simply because they are part of people they are collecting tax from. So what I want to draw from all this conversation is that as this discussion continues, I like it like that. And I don't want to be in support that this thing needs to be situated again on the federal control. Because I'm expecting a federal, a situation whereby we unbundle. Let's get the federative unity power. Those that are not capable, let them leave. Governance is a serious business. It's not as if I want to be this, I want to be that. What is the level of capacity? Think for your own state. So within a period of time, we have states of government that are coming up with alternatives on how to, if it's not fat, let us think of where we can generate more fund to their purse, not situating or center anything around fat. And I've said that KWARA State is likely to be affected among some states. But the governor still quiet. Perhaps he's thinking of, okay, what other measure? Or he want to wait till the Supreme Court, because if either of the party, by the Court of Appeal judgment, they will go to Supreme Court. And one thing I want to clarify, the governor Wike is not advocating simply because he's number one beneficiary, but he wants us to review the current system of our government. When you look at it, Lagos is number one beneficiary, and Lagos is likely to lose its headquarter control, just like my colleague said here. Because the content will say, those that are working, the money we are paying to the federal, to the headquarter, need to be paid here.
Yes.
We are going to.
We should have our own
So this is the kind of
money.
advantage some states will have. We will wake up and think, if at this level we have financial experts around the governors, for instance in River State, and River believes that what he is doing is right, and somebody here is telling them that if they have a wider consultation, that should have been the stance of the governor. So I want to see how far we are going to push this matter and see the effect. But I pray state like mine, which is KWARA, benefit from this by thinking outside the current, situation to generate more funds.
Well, thank you
for
very
the
much.
states.
Now, Mr. Fatai, let me get your closing statement on this. But before I go, how are you seeing that from your submissions as well? We made a case of Niger State. There are states that hang less than Niger. We can go to Gombe State.
I think Osun, Sanfara.
We can go to so are you saying that they can only do well with FARC? What if oil slump that happened that day, that we have to go below minus zero, happens for 48 hours? You know how much Nigeria would have lost. Don't you? Isn't it high time?
It is high time we start being proactive. But there is one thing I want to let you know. As we are rating Osun, Sanfara, and Abia being the bottom state on the VAT something, by the time the headquarters event is being removed, it may not happen like that. By the time the headquarters event is being removed, KWARA will not be. It's not that maybe it will be like that for KWARA as well. You understand? But the people that are going to be hit very well, the business is the small business. The business that will be hit very well is the small business. According to VAT Act, small businesses with turnover that is less than 25 million are exempted. Do you think states are going to exempt them? So that's why I was talking about the business environment. How is it going to be conducive? So before we can say, okay, let the state stand alone, let the state fat regime started. There are so many things that are supposed to be in place. It's not that maybe we just do, okay, now we sign into law. You understand? Like if you look at that year 2017 tax policy, even after the administrative readiness, you've done everything, all the machinery is set to move, and even after the enactment of the law, you still wait for minimum of 3 months before you can talk of implementation. Not that we'll just be talking of VAT now, okay, I signed into law, I signed the bill into law, like that. You just need to just think the effect on the businesses and the masses. If we're talking of the government, we've already said that the headquarters event will be removed. Once it's removed, then some states will be better off. And some states is going to also be pushed for states to do more, as my colleagues have said here. It's very important for us states to think outside the box to generate more revenue. But so many things need to be put in place because of the masses and the businesses. That is just the truth.
Alright, thank you very much. Mr. AbdulRazaq, let me come to you for a final statement. But I want you to submit on what some people said. Some governors just want to be the governor, just for the sake of being the number one state in their state. Isn't it high time we started telling them that you are going there to work? Because when we have state governors that made a governor that made a state earning 80% of its revenue from the federal government and left the state like that, do you think the state government, that governor has helped the state? That's number one. Number two is that how the state will continue?
Well, that's why we want the federal government to remove its hand in many things. While that's why I also support the states to take over this part. And that's exactly why we also want a lot of other aspects that is within the jurisdiction of federal government to be transmitted to the state. When people see the are saddled with responsibility that they cannot run elsewhere to solve. They are forced to take responsibility. So many states, the reason why many states are the way they are is because they know that whether they innovate or not, whether they create activities or not, there will always be funding coming from somewhere. That's why when many states would not pay salary, they are run to federal government for bailout. The reason why federal government is able to also create bailout is because they are in charge of certain
Because they have
economic and financial. So as soon as federal government remove its hand in many of those things and give it to state, now states know that they can't even run to the federal government for this bill because the federal government does not have it also. It's with them. What they do with what they now have will determine the efficiency of the state as well as the healthiness. So that will definitely put more responsibility.
Let me put this to you. Let me put this to you. When you talk about the state, some people say that some governors act like emperors. They kill the local government. Even after the election, you see the local government are not existing. So if states are making case for themselves, who is making cases for the local government?
Now this is a very important point. You see, federal government also is not doing what it needs to do for the local government because it's also being careful with the state. Now, at the point where the federal government no longer feel the need to control towards the state, the federal government can take proper side with the local government and ensure that state will put local government into consideration appropriately. The federal government can also start empowering the local government, giving them capacity building, letting them know areas they should venture into. Where, of course, some states, some local government will not want to, offend their state government or stuff. But some will definitely, take the courage because they are now being properly empowered and they now have higher authorities who are also supporting them. So I feel like the federal government, the state government and the local government just need to performing their function the way it ought to be. Not that everything is available, but making efforts towards putting things right will not hurt anybody. Instead, it will make us better.
Mr. Comrade Ishowo, let me come to you for the last time. Your final statement. Let's talk about this. From what Mr. Abdulrazaq has said, we have the states, the local governments that will not want to. They are also coward that they will not want to offend. So they might not want to offend the state governments. But what happened in Kaduna just not quite long ago? We have the opposition winning. Local government seat, a chairmanship seat. So, what do you think we should do? And then, what's your advice for state governors that are still there and the local government is still vacant?
Not that it's because Kaduna state government has the control or free the local government from its control, made them to conduct such election. It's not new. I think 2018, virtually all the local government from the Kaduna South were delivered to the opposition and made an announcement. And the current one is just a continuation of the normal trend in Kaduna State. But conducting election is one thing, and give the mandate to the winner is another thing. There are some states that, or most of the states, the problem we're having is that if a state is being controlled by APC, don't doubt it. All the local government in that particular state will be won by the APC. Vice versa. Most states have shown the difference, except the Kaduna, and I remember Nasarawa during the Almakura election, and PDP won and it delivered it. What other states? We saw what happened in KWARA State yesterday. But today, even worse, because no election whatsoever. We want to urge them that as they are advocating, let me check one thing, why the states are very hypocritical about this matter. Virtually, all the attorney general, or the federation, or in the states, joining together, so the attorney general of federation on what? On stamp duties. Because they know that they are all denied, and they are going to benefit. At the end of the day, I think 176 billion naira alleged the attorney general of the federation. Why they don't have the common ground on these facts? It's because not all of them will benefit. So that deficiency, which charge them that this is why people elected you, mean that touch, derive how to lead your state, leadership brilliance. So in this way, I will urge the governor, as they are advocating for their own rights from the center, let them allow the local government under them to survive. Because in all honesty, whatever the structure in place, if the local government is not under the control of the people that elected them, we may not see the benefit at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Why are the federal government to act on
think-
this? No, I'm just saying one thing. That if at the end of the day, maybe on this stamp duty, states win, federal government will just look at it that you two have been denying somebody under you. If we fail to conduct the election, we are not going to release your money. So that will, make a provocative reaction that go and do the needful. Not the federal government that will be looking at, should I do this? Do you think the government forum will not going to say something against me? So Nigeria's system of government is sick and it's required to be
I think we'll find sometimes to talk about this federal, local government autonomy some other time. Thank you very much, Mr. Hamzat. Thank you very much, Mr. AbdulFatai. And thank you very much, Comrade Ishowo. Thank you very much, our viewers at home. It has been a lengthy, constructive, and let me say objective discussions this morning. We've talked a lot about that, and the conversation continues. And because we are all expecting the judgment proclamation from the High Court of Justice. Thank you very much for our viewers. I'm Abdulqadir once again. Do have a lovely day. Thank you.